everyone across the United States hated your race and your gender. Everyone thought you were inferior, immoral, and ugly. No one believed you had any dignity in you, and they took advantage of you, thinking you were scum. People looked at you in disgust and treated you like you were their property. Back in the 1800s, that's exactly how African American women were treated, every single day. African American women were not considered anything in the United States. Back then, women in general were expected to tend to the house. If you were a white woman in the 1800s and you did everything to take care of your home and your children, you were considered virtuous and beautiful just because you were white. You'd be praised by how well you brought up your children and how well you did the laundry, but it's a whole other story if you were African American. Whether you were single, with a partner, had a family, didn't have a family, worked to take care of the house, worked outside the house, no matter what you did, people still thought you were unworthy of living and trash. If someone harassed you or abused you, they would go unpunished just because of your skin color. There's a quote here from a governor in South Carolina addressing a case of white men that raped an African American woman. He said, "I am of the opinion, as I have always been, and have very serious doubts as to whether the crime of rape can be committed upon a Negro." Now that's just absolutely shocking to hear that in our time. Back then, that's a statement people would cheer on. Can you imagine how African American women felt? The world perceived them to be these creatures that no one should be around. They felt ugly and unloved. Sure, some may have husbands who treated them like princesses and made them feel loved, but they were still unable to protect their wives. African American women were always in danger of white men because they could easily insult them and do whatever they want to them and get away with it. If an African American husband tried to defend his wife, he'd easily be shot down, and the shooter would get away with that easily too. The 1800s was a terrible time for African American women to live in the United States. It was a time where you felt ugly because of the way the world perceived you and the way the world treated you. Now, can you imagine living like that?
African American women were never allowed to show who they are, their personalities nor their beautiful face. Back then, they would have to wear head wraps to cover their hair. They were not allowed to show their beautiful hair. They were not allowed to style their hair to their own preferences. It was mandatory for them to cover their hair with a piece of cloth, not a pretty one with flowers and cheetah prints on it. A plain one, maybe a cloth that is dirty because they were not allowed to wear nice, clean clothes. They had to look like they were dirty. They were not allowed to wear fancy dresses, a nice, clean button-up shirt, a blouse, a cardigan, no. They were only allowed to wear dresses that would cover from their collarbone all the way to their toes. They never got the chance to express themselves through fashion and beauty that they were born with. African American women had enough of the whole world thinking they were immoral, and they were tired of not feeling beautiful. So they started to fight back. It was African American women against the whole world. They couldn't just wish to be treated like everyone else. They had to do something about it. To earn the respect that they deserved, they had to build themselves socially. African American women decided that if they went up the social ladder and became equal with the white women, they would be recognized as gorgeous women they are. For example, the National American Suffrage Association was a group of people that wanted to help women in America to be allowed to have their rights. There were parades and were all over the news to allow everyone to see what has to be done. This also helped America to finally agree to let women to vote. After rights were passed by the law, there were many successful African American women. This was the climax of African American women having a future in the beauty world, such as Madam C. Walker, who was the first African American woman to become a millionaire. This was something that was not possible in the past. She created a product that would let African American women to grow their hair. Another example is Helen Williams. She was another African American woman that became successful. She was the first African American woman to be in the fashion model. This was a big leap for them because they never have thought that they would ever be allowed to be a fashion model or even be in the media. Another example is Beverly Johnson. She was also an African American woman that made it big in the media. She was the first African American woman to be in the Vogue magazine. All of these people would have not able to be successful and succeed their dreams to see themselves being a millionaire, a model, or even being in the media if it wasn't for African Americans to fight for their rights. Compare all of that to now. African American women now can dress like everyone else. It is wonderful to see the different and unique styles they have created for the fashion industry and different hairstyles that they have created. They don't have to wear head wraps anymore. They can put their hair into a bun, curl it, straighten it, braid it, color it, anything they want. Each and every one in the world have their different ways to express themselves. African American women never gotten this chance until the late 1800s. Now, they can wear dresses from mini dresses to maxi dresses. They can wear cardigans, blouse, tank tops, skirts, anything. It is a great achievement for African American women to have their freedom to express themselves not only through beauty, but to also show who they really are.
People's perception of beauty did a complete 180 since the 1800s. African American women are no longer perceived as ugly or unworthy. Very often, you'll hear about African American women being considered as beautiful, if not more beautiful than white women. It's crazy to think that a few hundred years ago, women of color had to struggle to feel comfortable and were complete in their own skin because of how far they've come. Today, some of the women that are considered to be the most beautiful are African American. Even the media shows more respect and appreciation for African American beauty these days. For example, People magazine has named women such as Halle Berry and Beyonce as the most beautiful women in America. This year, Lupita Nyong'o was the first dark-skinned woman of African descent to earn the title of Most Beautiful Woman. Nyong'o even expressed her gratitude in a quote where she emphasized that her skin color is not any less pretty than that of a white girl's. She wrote, "This is about all the shades of beauty becoming. This is a true reflection of the evolution of the perception of beauty in America." This quote explains that the social values and ideas of beauty were transformed. Black women have come a far way since the 1800s and are now embraced for their unique qualities and gorgeous skin color. Another point that one should make in order to correctly analyze and show how valued African American women's attractiveness is today is the fact that some of the most recognized and respected models are Black. People such as Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks, and Iman helped shape the fashion industry into what it is. These astonishing African American models will forever be the classics of the model world and have everyone look up to them. Each of these models has made a career out of being alluring and good looking, something that a Black girl could never dream possible in the 1800s.